Good morning, friends. How are you this morning? Pray you are well. Good morning, Sharon. Glad you're here this morning. I hope things are well in your world. There is joy in these days. Bob Guinan, good morning to you. Glad you're here. Merry Christmas, indeed. Merry Christmas. It is um, as it should be. Good morning, Bob Guinan. On these days, as we approach Bethlehem and approach these days, I pray you are well. I pray you are good. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Yvette. We are back here in our sanctuary. I wanted to. They really are, Robin. They're really quite the display of beauty and wonder here. And then our tree and our nativity and the beauty of this place as it calls us to ascend to the blue skies of heaven. So, good morning, everyone. Jane, good morning to you. Glad you're here. Karen, good morning. Wayne, good morning to you. Robin, so glad you're here. It's such a joy. Good morning, everyone. John, good morning to you. Hi, Karen. Thank you for tagging me in the bread. I actually used to make bread. It's one of my favorite things to do on a quiet day was make a loaf of anadama. Was actually awesome. So actually really gave me some warmth seeing you celebrate the holiday. Hey, Wayne Quinn. Good morning. Good morning, friends. Glad you are here. All right, it is the 23rd day. We are moments away, hours away from the birth of Christ, from this celebration of the coming of the Prince of Peace into the world. You know, we think of this and we hold it up as like, oh, we're memorializing, we're ritualizing, we're remembering this thing that happened a long time ago. But I would submit to you that is not what we are doing. And it's what I want to remind you, is that we keep our rituals, we keep our festivals, we keep our traditions. We talked about this yesterday, but we keep them so that we participate. We participate in this life. We participate in the birthing of Jesus. We participate in the coming of Christ into this world. We participate in the very incarnation itself. That this is a participation sport, this life of ours, and this following of Christ Jesus. That's what it is. It is about our participation in this world. And I want to talk about this remembering and this participating. We're not just hanging up bulbs. We're not just looking at poinsettias. We are keeping these long traditions as a way of participating, as we have with generations of old that have participated with us. One of my favorite participators that I want to bring up to you today is Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Longfellow was a poet. He was a Maine boy, so he has a particular affection and place in my heart. And he lived in Portland, Maine, and he was one of the greatest poets, I would think, of the 19th century. He wrote and a couple of the hymns actually that are in our hymnal, but one of the most famous hymns is the Christmas hymn, which was his Christmas poem, which was set to music. I'm actually going to a little later. I will put the Robin clapped out loud. He said his name. That's awesome. I'm gonna put a link to my friend Judd Caswell, who does an arrangement of this, which is just absolutely beautiful and haunting as a parting gift for you for Christmas and this New Year. But this story and this hymn, if you find it in hymnals, it will have usually 4 stanzas because they cut out the middle stanzas because they're not very happy. They're not very because the story that leads to this hymn, the story that prompted Henry Wadsworth Longfellow to write it is a sad tale, and so I want us to enter into it. I want you to hear how it came to be, because it was written in 1863 in the height of the American Civil War, when the war raged around. And it was not a notional thing for Longfellow, because in 1862 his son had signed up with the 1st Massachusetts Artillery, unbeknownst to him. He actually writes him a letter and says, I couldn't, basically saying I couldn't stand to tell you, and I couldn't stand to not go and do my part for my country. And so he goes off to war without even his father's blessing, and which is a great worry in the midst. So Wadsworth's heart was on the battlefield while he was doing this. But in the midst of that, just a year earlier, his beloved Fanny, his wife, Fanny Appleton, was sealing a letter. Just a year earlier, was sealing a letter in 1862, and it had a lock of her daughter's hair, and in it, and the hair actually with wax. She was using a wax candle. Actually, if you get some correspondence from me someday, you might find out that I tend to seal my letters with a wax candle. I think it's a great tradition, and that she was sealing this letter to her daughter with this lock of her hair, and the lock of hair flamed, and the wax ran down her dress, and her dress caught fire. And Wadsworth was in the room at the time, and he grabbed the rug and he tried to put it out. And at the same time, and then he actually threw his body upon her to try and put out the flames that as she was burning, but was unsuccessful in saving her life. We think of Wadsworth with this great mane of beard and this great white hair. His great mane of beard was actually because his face was so scarred from the burns that he had suffered in trying to save his wife's life from burning to death. And she would die the next morning. That was simply a year prior. And it came to that afternoon of time, this evening time of life, this dark time that we find ourselves in with so little sunlight. And he drafts in 1863, in the height of the war. We're finding out also that his beloved son was wounded and was shot through the shoulder and wounded. He actually admits to a friend at that point that he says, I don't think I can go on. He actually considers institutionalizing himself because he considers that he might even be a danger. He's in the darks and the depths of depression, in the deepest of griefs. And he sits and he pens these words. I want you to hear them. Hear them through this knowing where they come from. Hear them with the full stanzas of the darkness in the middle of them. And hear them with his devout and true soul dedicated to Christ that lifted him from that darkness. Longfellow writes these words: I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play. The wild and sweet, the words repeat, of peace on earth and goodwill to men. And thought how, as the day had come, the belfries of all Christendom had rolled along the unbroken song of peace on earth and goodwill to men. Till ringing, singing on its way, the world revolved from night to day, a voice, a chime, a chant sublime of peace on earth and goodwill to men. And then from each black, accursed mouth, the cannon thundered in the south, and with the sound the carols drowned of peace on earth and goodwill to men. It was as if an earthquake rent the hearthstones of a continent and made forlorn the households born of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And in despair I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said, for hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth and goodwill to men. But then pealed the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth and goodwill to men. The great preacher Phillips Brooks invites us not to pray for easy lives, but to pray that we may be strong enough to face the lives and the challenges that we are given. Friends, there is no doubt that as we unfold this Christmas, as we participate in this as followers of Christ, we participate in the birthing of this child, of the incarnation, of the bringing of divinity into this world. As we participate in this time, there is no doubt that our hearts will break. There is no doubt that the things most precious to us will catch fire and might even die. There is no doubt that we will face great obstacles and huge hurdles. And there is no doubt that when we hear the bells of Christmas more loud and deep, we know that God is not dead and he does not sleep, but he journeys with us. He holds us dear. He blazes a way for us through all that might be cold and broken and difficult. And he brings us to a new year that you and I will once again, when we come together in the next year, on the 4th of January, we'll have this new time, this facing of epiphany, this facing of this realization of what have we gotten ourselves into with this new year? What have we gotten ourselves into with the birth of this child? What have we gotten ourselves into with this commitment to decide we are a people who follow this Jesus guy? What great and wondrous thing shall come to us in this next year, though we might stand with a wounded child and a dead wife and a broken heart and a world at war, like Wadsworth did, like so many others did, like so many others have, and maybe you are right now. But whatever your grief, whatever your sorrow, whatever your hurt, know that the light of Christ that is born into the world on Christmas Eve shines greater than that darkness. It shines brighter than any wound, any hurt, any brokenness, any madness that you might encounter. And so, friends, hear Longfellow's words once again as I leave you for this season. Come and join us. We have a 4 o'clock children's service, family and children's service. We have a 7 o'clock lessons and carols service. Come and be a part of that. Be a part of my friend Reverend Mac McDonald will be here on the 26th. We are celebrating the first communion of the year on the 2nd of January. There are beautiful and great things ahead for you to take part in, all of them to declare those words that brought salvation to the world, peace on earth and goodwill to men. Hear Longfellow's conclusion, and let it be yours in this season. Then pealed the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth and goodwill to men. Peace and grace, my friends, as you unlock this season, as you give birth to the Christ child in your life, that as you await the new that is coming, and as you open to birth this baby in this time. My friends, it is a pleasure and a joy to conclude this year with you and to walk this path with you. That if you're hearing my voice right now, or you hear it later on, or you're part of this 11:11 journey, I hope you will recommit to us in this coming year and be the joy of fellowship that we have with one to the other. Peace and grace, my friends, and have a Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year.